Hi, I'm William Sporrer. I go to Point Park University, and for Banned Books Week, I'm going to be reading you a section of Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5. It's one of the most commonly banned books in the United States. Since its publication in 1974, people have been trying to ban it for everything from violence to sexual content to anti-American and anti-Semitic values. However, it's also listed as one of the most important books in American history, so I think it's really important that we keep these in our libraries and make sure students can read them for classes and get access to this awesome book. So I'm going to be reading you a section towards the middle, one of my favorite quotes here at the end. There was a lot Billy said that was gibberish to the Chalfamidorians as well. They couldn't imagine what time looked like to him. Billy had given up on explaining that. The guide outside had to explain the best he could. The guide invited the crowd to imagine that they were looking across a desert at a mountain range on a day that was twinkling bright and clear. They could look at a peak or a bird or a cloud or a stone right in front of them, or even down and across the canyon behind them. But among them was this poor earthling. His head was encased in a steel sphere which could never take off. There was only one eye hole through which he could look, and welded to that eye hole were 6 feet of pipe. This was only the beginning of Billy's miseries in metaphor. He was also strapped to a steel lattice which was bolted to a flat car on rails, and there was no way he could turn his head or touch the pipe. The far end of the pipe rested on a bipod which was also bolted to the flat car. All Billy could see was a little dot at the end of the pipe. He didn't know he was on a flat car, didn't even know that there was anything particular about his situation. The flat car sometimes crept, sometimes went extremely fast, often stopped, went uphill, downhill, around curves, along straightaways. Whatever poor Billy saw through the pipe, he had no choice to save himself. This is life. Billy expected the Chalfamidorians to be baffled and alarmed by all the wars and other forms of murder on Earth. He expected them to fear that the Earthling combination of furiosity and spectacular weaponry that might eventually destroy part, or maybe all, of the innocent universe. Science fiction had led him to expect that. But the subject of war never came up until Billy brought it up himself. Somebody in the zoo crowd asked him through the lecturer what the most valuable thing he had learned on Chalfamidor was so far. Billy replied, how the inhabitants of a whole planet can live in peace. You know, I am from a planet that has been engaged in senseless slaughter since the beginning of time. I myself have seen the bodies of schoolgirls who were boiled alive in water by my own countrymen, who were proud of fighting pure and evil at the same time. This was true. Billy had saw the boiled bodies in Dresden. And I have lit my way in a prison at night with candles from the fat of human beings who were butchered by the brothers and fathers of those schoolgirls who were boiled. Earthlings must be the terrors of the universe. If planets aren't now in danger from Earth, they soon will be. So tell me the secret I can take it back to Earth and save us all. How can a planet live in peace? Billy felt that he had spoken soaringly. He was baffled by what the Chalfamidorians then closed their little hands on their eyes. He knew from the past experience that this meant he was being stupid. Would you mind telling me, he said to the guide, much deflated, what was so stupid about that? We know how the universe ends, said the guide, and Earth has nothing to do with it, except that it gets wiped out too. How does the universe end then, said Billy. We blow it up, experimenting with new fuels for our flying saucers. A Chalfamidorian test pilot presses the starter button, and the whole universe disappears. So it goes. If you know this, said Billy, isn't there some way you can prevent it? Can you keep the pilot from pressing the button? He has always pressed it, and he always will. We always let him press it, and we always will let him. The moment is structured that way. So, said Billy, I suppose the idea of preventing war on Earth is stupid too. Of course, but you do have a peaceful planet here. Today we do. On other days we have wars as horrible as any you've ever seen or read about. There isn't anything we can do about them, so we simply don't look at them. We ignore them. We spend eternity looking at pleasant moments, like today at the zoo. Isn't this a nice moment? Yes. That's one thing Earthlings might learn to do. If they tried hard enough, ignore the awful times and concentrate on the good ones. Yeah.